Hello and welcome to the Cryptonaut podcast. My name is Mark Storrs, and hanging out with me, as always, is
Rob Morphy.
Uncle Bobby. What's happening? Unfortunately, Christopher will not be joining us for this episode, but he will be returning shortly. And, buddy, we are recording this behind our screens remotely in our bunkers.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was talking about I'm always healthy, I'm always good, and then I caught a case of the crud. So, yeah, I'm a little bit under the weather. And your car also apparently the Armada.
Yeah, this thing's being a dick. Starter this time.
It got sunk. Yeah, it got sunk apparently. So, Chris isn't here, so we're just going to take this time to do some remote recording here from our homes in case you notice any audio quality adjustments there. But this week, Robert, this one hits close to home for me and for Christopher as well. Alien Invasion, Italian Style, Part 1, The Visitors.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
This is something I'm excited about, real excited about, because this is a flap that is actually incredible. It's like, it's legendary, but like you kind of have to be in the know to know about it. And it's a year-long odyssey of madness, but there was a super peak in the winter, and that is what we'll be dealing with in the next two episodes. This is obviously part uno, and I think I can safely call it, even though I've notoriously lied every single fucking time, but I think this is just going to be a two-parter.
All right, man. Well, we're going to keep our fingers crossed for that two-parter, or who knows, we could be heading to the 10.
Yeah,
the 10-parter. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Regardless, though, let's get started with. For approximately 2 months in the winter of 1978, the nation of Italy was besieged by a bevy of bizarre beings who seemed hell-bent on making their presence known to as many eyewitnesses as possible, forcing one to wonder why it was that Italy was chosen to be the epicenter of this curious cosmic convention.
Questions.
I mean, we're going to the Italian Alien Convention, and I'm my body is ready. I am prepared, good sir. Let's do this.
Absolutely. But before we begin, I feel like I need to give full props to the seemingly indefatigable French IT designer come UFO chronicler Patrick Gross and his indispensable website, ufologypatrickgross.org. That's ufology with an IE, the French spelling.
Nice.
Which he created in 2000 and to date has over 23,000 files on an array of fascinating cases concerning both inexplicable aircraft and their ostensible occupants. It is one of the most amazing and totally free UFO resources out there, and his work should be lauded. I will note that this is not an exchange. This is not a commercial, even though it might have sounded like a little infomercial. This is me genuinely endorsing this as an excellent resource for anyone out there interested in ufology, or more significantly, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's really been an amazing resource, basically, ever since we started American Monsters, 20-something, oh my God, it's like almost a quarter of a century old. So, and his website is too. So it's amazing, and people should check it out. So I wanted to throw it out there because that's where I did a hell of a lot of the research.
Yeah, no, I've definitely gone to this resource before, and he has a ton of stuff there. So be sure to check out that website there. And Robert, let's go to Italy.
For nearly 50 days, from mid-November to December 30th, 1978, the unsuspecting citizens of Italy experienced an extraordinary and unexpected rash of seemingly random encounters with an incredible array of alien entities. Taken individually, these reports constitute little more than a collection of curious cases, definitely of a caliber that it would have a profound effect on the lives of the experiencers, but perhaps not so dramatic that they're likely to blow the collective minds of dedicated ufologists. But taken together, especially in consideration of the condensed time frame and geographical area in which these incidents allegedly took place, even the most skeptical UFO enthusiasts would be compelled to take pause and concede that this flap represents a potentially significant series of encounters with a group of enigmatic entities who, for reasons unknown, seemed preoccupied by the landscape and people of Italy during that fateful year. Were these creatures merely curious, or might they in fact have been the spearhead for a potential invasion? One that, for all we know, may still be in the works. And that's the key question. And I think we have to ask David Grush, because he's clearly the only one with maybe Jeremy Corbell.
Well, I mean,
maybe GNAP. I don't know.
GNAP. If this is continuing, we won't know. It could be days, weeks, months, years,
Well, it's been
decades.
decades. It was 78. So it's been a whole hunk of time.
So it could still be going on. I mean, Grush claims that Mussolini grabbed that alien, that alleged UAP or whatever. So who knows, man? This could still be in the works. But all right, man. Well, let's go to Italy.
Yeah, there's gray skulls in the Vatican archives. I mean,
for sure.
Come on.
Definitely.
The late great author, ufologist, and one-time assistant director of the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, or NICAP as it's better known, Richard Hall, recognized this wave as one of the most significant in the history of ufology. Hall would claim during the course of 1978 there were more than 500 reports of UFOs in Italy, with at least 130 of them being close encounters and 25 involving humanoid entities. Though essentially ignored by the global media, in Italy these sightings led to unprecedented public discussion and debate, even in the Italian parliament. To be clear, Italy was not alone in this extraordinary experience, as during the course of 1978, an array of nations as far-flung as Argentina, Russia, New Zealand, USA, and Spain, among many others, offered up reports of equally strange sightings. But none were more concentrated than the myriad reports emanating from Italy during those illustrious months. While it would be a fool's errand to attempt to cover all of these accounts, and we are fools, but we're not that fucking stupid, we've chosen some of the most interesting and or representative cases to help illustrate these extraordinary events. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we are focusing on the densest part of the flap, which is the late autumn winter, beginning of winter stretch, which, as it was aforementioned, mid-November to the end of December.
All right,
Someday
man,
we'll
Christmas.
probably do the others because they're all fucking crazy. But right now we're going to get into the heat of it.
All right, dude. Christmas with aliens in Italy. I love it. Bring on the 7 fishes and the 12 aliens.
The locus of these odd interactions seemed to be in the province of Chieti in Italy's Abruzzo region. Going with the long-established comparison of Italy resembling a knee-high boot, the province of Chieti is located on the east coast of the nation in an area that could best be described as the lower calf or upper ankle, depending on one's perspective. But to properly explore a flap like this, one must begin at the beginning. And in this case, the beginning took place about 190 miles northeast of Chieti in the small town of Rimini. I think I'm saying it right. I apologize to all our Italian fans. You know my deal. I can't say anything right.
None of us can.
The first officially reported encounter in this mini winter invasion was brought to the public's attention in 2004 by Italian ufologist Antonio Ciumiento. The incident occurred at precisely 11:25 p.m. on a cool, foggy, rain-drenched night sometime in mid-November of 1978. The primary witness, a man known only as Antonio F., was at home watching television waiting for a boxing match to begin when he noticed that his dog, a massive, and I'm going to definitely F this up, Marimano Abruzzi Shepherd, was furiously barking outside. He could usually tell by the tone of the bark whether the animal was yapping at another animal or a human being. And Antonio's instincts told him that the aggressive sound was being made towards an unidentified person. The late 1970s were a particularly contentious and violent time in Italian politics. I know it seems like I'm switching gears here. Just go with it.
We're going to history class with Uncle Rob.
In 1978, the notorious Red Brigades, a terrorist organization consisting of a group of young Marxists, disillusioned with the Italian Communist Party who rallied for a secession from Europe, just like Texas and America, had assassinated the Christian Democratic leader Aldo Moro, and riots and kidnappings were running rampant. In this heated climate, Antonio, being a professional bodyguard who harbored what he conceded were, quote, extremist right-wing ideas, end quote, feared for both his safety and that of his family. Therefore, the anxious barking of his usually cool guard dog was beginning to raise hackles of concern. Worried that the pet may have cornered a common criminal or worse yet, a potential assassin, Antonio crept up to his window and looked outside toward the entry gate of his property. But instead of a prowler, this man of action would bear witness to something unfathomable. Approximately 130 feet from the gate, Antonio noticed a dazzling light that he at first assumed were the headlights of an automobile that had had some kind of accident. But he quickly realized that the lights were too far above the straight road to be a car. It was a segmented object hovering in midair that looked to be somewhere between 30 and 60 feet in length. And you know what? I'll give it to this guy. I can't estimate size at a distance either. Might as well go just in the broadest strokes. Could be 5 feet, could be 350. I don't fucking know.
Dude, whatever.
It could be 7 feet away or 2,000. I can't tell.
Or 120 yards. Who knows?
So 60 or 30, I'm just going to go with it.
Perfect.
In length. That was when Antonio noticed that the color of this metameric object, though primarily orange, began to vacillate between purple and silver as well. Astonished by the sight before him, he turned and called for his family, shouting, "Come here, there is a UFO." His wife, mother, and sister rushed into the room, but by the time Antonio turned back toward the window, the glowing object was gone. His family had, however, seen a flash of multicolored light before darkness reclaimed the sky. Frustrated, Antonio stared skyward for a bit before returning to the TV. But before he could get back into the program, he was again struck by his dog's incessant barking. Despite having been distracted by the undulating UFO, Antonio was still well aware of the fact that an all-too-human threat might be lurking somewhere on his property. Mildly anxious, the bodyguard grabbed a flashlight and headed for the door. He turned off the outside lights and began walking around his house in the hope of surprising whomever was there. Little could Antonio have suspected that within seconds, he would be the one in shock. Antonio was staring at the space that the UFO had occupied just moments before when he suddenly heard a rustling sound emanating from the wild grasses in the field to his left. Antonio instinctively lit the flashlight and pointed it toward the area from where the noise had come. It was then that he spied two extremely thin humanoid figures, one over 6 feet and one less than 5, standing about 20 feet away in the field. Although their forms were familiar, Antonio instantly realized that the creatures were anything but human. In fact, the strangely stretched figures reminded the witness of the lithe women with oval faces, sharp chins, and unnaturally long necks that the artist Amedeo Mondigliani used to paint. Antonio was mesmerized by the pair's large almond-shaped eyes that were, quote, broader towards the outside and thinner towards the center of the head, end quote. The creatures' bodies were covered in a gray, skin-tight suit, evidently held in place with a thick belt, which was clasped with a 2 by 6 inch rectangular silver-plated buckle, which seemed to shine intensely, although Antonio was unsure if it was luminous or simply reflecting back his flashlight's beam.
I do love alien with a really cool belt buckle.
Oh, also one or Ozzo.
Ozzo.
When I watched that Alien, 411, the David Paulides, I always fuck up his name. I don't know why.
Paulides, yep.
Yeah, Palladian. And there was the Alien one. I think it's one of his most recent ones. And they had Carl Higdon, all old as shit, sitting in his chair talking about his experience. He pronounced it Ozzo, but I've always seen it spelled Ausso. Yeah. So I always said Osso, but it's more like Ozo,
right?
Like Ozzo. But anyway, regardless, he had a sweet belt too.
We got some awesome fucking sweet alien belt buckles in Italy. I am excited. Hopefully, they have gadgets in them. We'll see.
We will see. No guarantees on the gadge.
Nice.
So he doesn't know if it's shining or just reflective, but it's fucking awesome. All right. The beings glanced up at Antonio, and for a few minutes the trio shared what seemed to be a mutually stunned moment of silence. Then, as he had before with the UFO, Antonio called out for his family to come see the improbable display of inhuman entities. It was at that moment that the creatures disappeared with a quote-unquote gentle rustle. Not prone to feeling fear as a general rule, Antonio claimed not to have been intimidated, but delighted to have had the chance to see these inexplicable beings. The rest of the evening passed without incident, though the excitement assured that no one in the house would sleep a wink that night.
I mean, how many times you got to tell your family there's a UFO there? He did it
Now
twice.
there's aliens, and
Yeah,
they just
but
never come in time.
dude,
But stop shouting.
Well, okay, so you think it was yelling, maybe? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, we're Italian, so what we do.
Ah!
That's how my wife always says, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I'm like, you're right. Exactly. I tend to shout a little bit. But calling your family twice, it's like, oh, there's a UFO, look. And then you finally get to see the creatures like, oh my God, there's aliens. And then they just all disappears. You gotta be like, son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, God damn it. Son of a
Super
bitch.
frustrating.
All right.
At least they saw a little dapple of like fireworks for
something.
the UFO, but they didn't see shit for the skinny aliens.
Dude, they're going to be getting tired of this guy's shit real quick.
So, oh, yeah. I mean, he might be a badass bodyguard and intense right-wing extremist by self-admission.
Dude, this guy sounds like he has so much going on. You almost want to be like, maybe it's getting to him. Maybe he's starting to crack. I don't know, man.
That gets a little dark because when you're getting that, you might be dabbling in fascism. You know, you might be maybe even a big old fan of the Mussolini era or something.
Dude, this is not good for this guy, man. He's, I think, mentally and emotionally has a burden that he's bearing that he just needs to get off his chest, man. Just, I don't know, dude, go sit near a pond, have some pasta, try to be friendly, you know, just crack a smile.
Read some Thoreau, exactly. Loosen up that tie.
Wave to some children. Just do it. Just cool your jets, dog. Cool your jets. The shit's life's too short to be this fucking hateful. Your soul is bent, good sir. Continuing.
Indeed. No, I mean it's a Grinch moment, and it is December or November actually. So let's hope his heart grew a few sizes in the field that day.
The fascist Italian Grinch.
Oh my God. So perfect.
What the fuck cartoon is that? All right, moving on.
The worst Christmas special ever.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, we're going to wrap this one up.
All right.
The following morning, Antonio inspected the freshly plowed field below where the segmented UFO had hovered and found a circular patch of scorched earth just under 5 feet in diameter. When he later checked the spot where the skinny being stood, he realized that their height disparity had been caused by a small rise and tiny divot that the pair had been standing respectively on and in. So that would mean they're probably both about 5.5 feet tall. One was in a little ditch, one was on a little mound. Whatever.
little tiny Italian hill in a fascist backyard.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Fascists have bumpy yards.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This odd incident would trigger a spate of strange sightings throughout the nation. And while, as I've said before, the sightings actually happened before then, this was the beginning of the winter flap that we're, dedicating this episode to. Our second case occurred on November 14th, about 200 miles south of Rimini in San Donato di Taglicoso in the province of Aquila. According to a report published the next day in the newspaper Il Messaggero, Jesus fucking Christ, I know I ripped that one apart, a 51-year-old cattle rancher named Giuseppe Di Giovanni was searching for a missing cow near 5 a.m. when he caught sight of a strange cylindrical object about 16 feet in diameter and 5 feet high sitting in the middle of his grazing meadow. Giuseppe approached the object, which he claimed resembled a brown shoe polish box, noting that there were rows of illuminated windows encircling the perimeter of the device. Peering inside, the rancher was shocked to see what he described as 7 miniature pink-skinned humans, no more than 2.5 feet tall, all clad in the decidedly elven garb of green coveralls with conical caps.
Oh, dude, you get the kind of like the cool cigar-shaped UFO, and then you get the little elves inside?
You get the little elves, the frolicking, green-clad elves.
This is so much better than that dumb gray shit. This is awesome.
As I was writing this, understanding full well that this was essentially late autumn, winter, I didn't realize there was going to be a Christmas theme. But as we go from the fascist Grinch to Santa's elves in the little shoe polish, box, I'm thinking maybe a theme is arriving here.
It's Santa's little Italian elves. They help make all the Italian Christmas cookies.
They had those other.
I
wish I could remember. This is why we need someone like Rob Christofferson around when we're doing episodes like this. The Italian case where a rocket, like a very phallic rocket, came down and 2 little elven people came out and tried to steal an older Italian woman's flowers. And there's this
Huh.
beautiful painting of it on this magazine cover that, often covered UFO encounters. And I
Right.
wish I could remember the name of it. Someone will definitely mention it in the
I keep
socials.
thinking of the Imjarvi elf, but that's like Finnish or
Yes,
somewhere over
that's
there,
up in
like
Scandinavia
in
somewhere.
Scandinavia. Yeah, where the Vikings came across them. All
But there's
right,
a
man.
lot
Well,
of alien elves. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
mean,
dude. Again, I know the umbrella. There
Magonia,
it
yo.
is, dude. You get under my Magonia umbrella. There it
Oh my
is.
God.
Yeah.
Rihanna sang it first.
Fucking Rihanna rules, dude.
You're not going to get me protesting that.
No, we are a pro Rihanna podcast.
100%.
Word.
The women who he compared to living dolls were all blonde and smiled like children. This is his description.
Oh boy.
As they moved around the interior of the object. The men, however, had dark hair and seemed much older than their female counterparts. What struck the seasoned man of the earth as being particularly odd was the fact that while the tiny women were completely mobile, the many men stood stock still as if they were statues. Stranger still was the fact that the witness claimed that as he walked around the object, no matter which window he looked in, the view was completely the same. It was as if they weren't actually windows, but an array of television screens all synchronized on the same image. Giuseppe began to wonder if these were living beings at all, and just as he had convinced himself that he was looking at a holographic image, one of the girlies, as he referred to them, abruptly looked up, making eye contact with the rancher and offering a welcoming grin. For some unknown reason, this ostensibly pleasant interaction chilled Giuseppe to the bone. Overcome with a rush of blind panic, the rancher dove behind a nearby bush and sealed his eyes shut, praying for the offending object to leave. After a few minutes, the man mustered the courage to open his eyes and found, to his chagrin, that the object remained. Giuseppe once again closed his eyes. Suddenly, the early morning silence was shattered by the sound of an explosion. The startled rancher looked up just in time to watch the convex object silently shoot straight up into the sky. He noted that some large rocks that had sat where the thing was perched were now missing, and that the grass where it sat had turned a sickly shade of yellow. Whether or not his missing cow ever turned up was sadly not reported.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, whatever happened to the cow? All right, man. So strange interaction. It just, I guess when you give it the old, like, hey, how are you? And then it gives it to you back, you're like, ah, shit.
Well, especially once you've convinced
we've made
yourself that
contact.
you're looking at a screen, like you go each window and it's the exact, and how disconcerting must that be when you see things from the exact same perspective as you walk around the perimeter of something? And you're like, I'm not
Yeah.
looking at them from now this side, the back, the front, the right, the left. It's like they're always in the exact same position. And then once you convince yourself that it's just an image somehow presented to you, maybe in, I don't know, some extreme hoax form or whatever. I don't know what he was thinking. It's 78. All of a sudden, one of them interacts with you.
Yeah, it's kind of like being stuck in, like, It's a Small World. Where you're just like watching it,
God.
you're like, oh Jesus, like this is some weird.
Yeah,
Well, I
you're
guess
right,
actually it's nothing like being stuck. It's a Small World. I don't even know why I said that, but it's just weird thinking that you're seeing this thing and it looks like some weird, almost like one of those like circular image things that like you spin around, like those like old timey toys or something.
Yeah, like one of those things
where
that
everything
like you
is
see the animation go around or whatever as you spin it.
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying, and the Small World analogy isn't that bad actually, because this vibe of things that are supposed to be pleasant and uplifting, striking most as just that, but others, including myself, even though I've been on It's a Small World, I don't know, half a dozen times at least, is a little disconcerting.
Smidge bit, man.
And that makes it a valid comparison, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, we're just making our way through Italy with a bunch of aliens here, friend.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get weirder, briefer. We'll just go for the ride. Our third episode occurred in Naples, the regional capital of Campania and the third largest city in Italy after Rome and Milan. At 12:45 a.m. on November 29th, 1978, I will stop mentioning 78, we all know that's the year all this shit happens, an unidentified woman claimed to have had an all-too-close encounter with some mysterious nighttime visitors. According to a report made in Chris Aubeck and Martin Schaff's 2015 tome Return to Magonia, Investigating UFOs in History, which I think is endorsed by good old Jacques Vallée, because he
nice.
writes the intro to it. I've got to pick up that book. I don't know why I don't own it. I guess I didn't know it existed until I was researching this.
Nice.
But anyway, it's out there and I'm intrigued. The witness was startled awake by the sudden sound of something banging against her terrace window. Almost certainly terrified by the prospect of running into a prowler or some other insidious exponent of the criminal element, the woman snuck over to her window. But when she peeked outside onto her terrace, she was astounded by the sight before her. Aubeck and Schaff report that she saw a pair of humanoid figures that were no more than 3 feet in height and clad in loose, dark-fitting garments. But by far their strangest attributes were the rounded, glowing helmets that covered the entirety of their heads, obscuring their faces, assuming, of course, that they had any to begin with, because we've dealt with faceless things before. You can't guarantee anything. The astonished observer could only stare in wonder as these things moved about her terrace in what she described as quote-unquote quick, graceful movements. Eager for corroboration of this unbelievable event, the woman shouted for her son to come see the spectacle before her. I guess it's an Italian thing. I'm going to scream for the family.
Dude, just keep screaming.
But the sound of her voice must have frightened the tiny trespassers, as no sooner than the sound issued forth, the diminutive duo vanished before her eyes.
Oh, those little robed, glowing helmet sons of bitches.
Sons of bees.
Yeah, interesting description though. Little tiny dudes with kind of like loose robes and like glowing helmets. Kind of neat.
And that's cool too, because so many are clad in the wetsuit, basically. That is the classic alien garb. And that makes sense. Skin tight. You want to show off your buff bod, your skinny bod, whatever weird bod you got, show it off, doesn't matter. But it's almost always skin tight. To see loose garments for once, that's kind of nice. Just switching it up.
No, man, they're flowing, they're moving gracefully, they got room to breathe, room to move, no tight fitting stuff. I like it. I think alien fashion statement, it's pretty cool.
Exactly. It could be, tunics, but I'm thinking more like jaggings. Just like lays around your house bullshit.
Yeah.
Just quote unquote workout clothes that goddamn well you're not going to work out in. You're just bumming around.
You're just relaxing in it, man. Just trying to, it's a Sunday, there you go. Just relax.
Hell yes.
Nice.
Moving on. Our fourth case occurred in the pastoral village of Vakri. Surrounded by vineyards and olive groves and nestled on a hill in the province of Chieti between the twin valleys of the Dendalo and Foro rivers, the stunning Vakri offered a decidedly panoramic view of the region and would hardly seem to be a likely place for an alien encounter. But in early December of 1978, that is precisely what transpired. And that, I have to say, that sounds like picturesque, like the kind of place you want to go to die. Like a little hill with olive groves and vineyards and the 2 rivers, the good old Dendalo and the Foro flowing, by and just sitting there. And you're like, I could paint this, but I'm just going to sit here, read a book and drink slowly until I expire.
And that just amongst the olive trees. And then you eventually become the soil which more olive trees are birthed from.
Yes!
Awesome. All right, man. Sure.
Retirement plans.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Die in Italy? You're going to probably die in Italy?
Honestly, if you had to pick any spot, I guess, home with your loved ones, I guess would be preferred. But if you're like, fuck it, I'm going to Italy alone.
Oh, no, I'll bring my loved ones there. We're all going to be in this beautiful place while I die.
Yeah, no one's traveling that far. Come on.
Oh, my God. It'll probably ruin it for everyone else, too.
Yeah, everyone's going to hate Italy as they watch you slowly die in a field next to a fucking olive tree.
Let's go to Italy. Family trip, all our families.
Okay, fine.
Go to Italy while we're living, enjoy it, and then find someplace really shitty to die so we never want to go back there again.
There you go. I love it. Awesome. All right.
Die in Utica.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, Utica.
That is not an indictment of our Utican listeners.
They got a great hockey program there. And good beer. Good shit beer, but good beer.
I love Utica Club, and tomato pie is the shit. All right, Robert, back on point. We're leaving Utica,
just barely.
And we're going to Italy.
All right. The incident, again first reported in Return to Magonia, is concise as it is confounding. The extent of the report is this. According to a pair of again unnamed eyewitnesses, a pair of humanoid figures clad in quote unquote luminous coveralls and oval helmets, so pretty similar, except for the glowing
Yeah,
coveralls, were
totally.
seen gliding above a field in the pre-dawn hours. As to what these figures might have been doing, or for that matter, how long they remained, we are forced to speculate as there is no additional information regarding this intriguing incident. An incident made more significant as it is another of this massive flap to have been reported in the Chieti province. For some reason, that is like the dense locale. And then the nearby Aquila and a few others,
Right.
but like it's all over Italy, all over, but the bulk of them happen in this area for some
Okay.
reason. Maybe
Cool.
because it's so beautiful. Maybe they're going there to drink wine and die. I don't
Yeah.
know what aliens are doing.
That's where they
They're
want to
just
go.
gliding around.
And they're, yeah, dude, they've got their fluffy, comfy robes and their cool helmets, and they're like, we're going to go die in a field in Italy. Cool. I like it.
Right on.
I get it. Totally.
Fuck yeah. The fifth incident in this amazing flap would go down as Italy's most famous series of alien encounters on the books. The now legendary Zanfretta abduction.
Oh, nice.
Which began at 11:30 p.m. on the moonless winter night of December 6th, 1978. On the night in question, a 26-year-old night watchman named Fortunato Zanfretta was making his rounds through the darkened village of Torriglia when he encountered a trio of gargantuan, yellow-eyed reptilian humanoids kicking off a heap of abductions, a treasure hunt, and equally bizarre encounters with entities like the Grinning Man, all of which we covered at length in episodes 193, 194, and 195. So if you want to do a deep dive in Zanfretta and you haven't done it yet, go back. It's right there in the archives, and it's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's a great episode. Little known fact, little behind the scenes here for the Cryptonaut podcast. Robert originally presented this to us as one whole pod, and it was probably about 18 pages. And I think Chris and I had a collective heart attack, and we're like, buddy, this is not going to work. And then I think we actually recorded like a whole ton of it.
Oh,
right?
we did.
We did. And then we just gave up. Like,
that's back when we were recording in like Chris's dining room.
Yeah, in his dining room, in his apartment. And we literally just like stopped. We're like,
and it was the simplest of mistakes. That was back before, marathon Uncle Bobby writing, even though I've scaled it down to like the mandatory 6 pages. But wow. I always double spaced. Like those early pods were actually really short. Like, the
totally.
Jelly Man, all that stuff. And they were always double spaced. And for some reason, I just didn't think to double space. I don't do it anymore because now I condense as much shit as I can, obviously. But
trying to get around that 6-page limit, you son of a bitch.
It's true, dude. I change margins. I do all sorts of sneaky shit.
You did a flappy bird. You're like, I'm getting more time into making it harder on marks. Yay!
Oh God. Dude, we have so many encounters to get through, but I will say this. It was a complete accident with Zanfretta. I had no idea that I forgot to space it right, and I thought it was the typical 9 pages double spaced.
Oh, yeah, no.
And it was like, oh, no, that's 9 pages. That's the equivalent of like 18 pages.
It was 18 pages.
We just did a novel.
Yeah, and we
and you guys died.
It. Oh, no,
we were going fine, and we were chugging along, and then when we realized we were like 2/3 of the way through, barely, you guys were like, no fucking way.
No, we just died. We literally just died. But it's okay, though. Again, check out the our 3-part series. And as Robert mentioned, that is episodes 193, 194, and 195.
And it is astounding, just on the last note on this, that this epic, long-running series of events that went well past 1978, and it gotten so much attention, and we're the subject of a book that's now in English. And can be found on Amazon. You just look for Zanfretta. That happened in the thick of this wider flap that is absolutely batshit crazy.
Almost kind of like a whole like Mothman vibe, where you've got like the Mothman happening, and then all those weird little incidents happening around it.
Yeah, because you're right. The Zanfretta is like the Mothman. That's a really good analogy. Like the key incident that everyone looks at, just like the Mothman phenomenon itself. But that also had grinning men and men in black and poltergeists and hat men and shadow people and all sorts of ill shit and zones of terror and UFOs galore and poltergeists. So you're absolutely right. It's almost like this, like these places, these window areas just open up for a period of time and shit goes batshit.
And here we are in a window area in Italy.
Our 6th encounter.
Nice.
Which is every bit as brief and befuddling as the Vakri sighting, took place in the picturesque coastal town of Carole, located in the metropolitan city of Venice. According to a bulletin released by the Center for UFO Studies, a privately funded UFO research group founded in 1973 by the one and only Dr. J. Allen Hynek, near dawn on December 7th, 1978, a close encounter of the third kind was witnessed by several, once again frustratingly unidentified witnesses. The event took place off the shore in the waters of the Adriatic Sea. Here in toto is the report, quote, close encounter with an unidentified craft and its occupants. More than two objects were observed by numerous witnesses on the ocean, end quote. That's it. And as if that weren't irksome enough, the entire incident was dismissed with these two additional words, explanation, animals.
Okay. All right. Well, unfortunately, sometimes these encounters with otherworldly beings and or UAP/UFOs, just, people write them off. They're not chronicled properly. And according to this, they're like, yeah, we saw some shit animals. Like, what the fuck? Like, what kind of animals are you talking about here, dude? You got narwhals? Like, what are we doing, dude?
That's exactly.
Like,
here's what I say. You're right on the right track.
Am I close?
Granted, according to the website www.dolphinwatching.com. That's a thing.
I was close.
Several cetacean species can be found in the northern Adriatic, but only the bottlenose dolphin is a regular inhabitant. Nevertheless, striped dolphin, common dolphin, and even fin whale occasionally appear in the area, end quote. That having been noted, the specifics of what was seen by the anonymous eyewitnesses, as well as an explanation regarding how a pair of any of these animals might be misidentified as an alien craft and its occupants, was sadly not forthcoming.
I mean, one man's dolphin-nosed, or one man's bottle-nosed dolphin is another man's UFO, good sir. Is that a thing?
And
a bottle-nosed? Did I say it right? Bottle-nosed dolphin?
Yeah.
Bottle-nosed dolphin. Okay, yeah. I mean, sometimes some people see a dolphin and some people just see aliens. So, okay, well, not much to go with that one.
I left it there simply because it's iffy and it makes me pissy. It was I almost like, I just wanted to talk about it to vent, really.
Okay.
Not because it helps this case at all.
No, it actually doesn't do anything for it, but it's okay. I mean, it's fun. It's like there's a UFO explanation, dolphins. Like,
but it brings the USO element in though.
It does, yeah,
and that's key. I mean, Italy clearly surrounded by water everywhere.
Dude, these creatures are coming from the sea, dude. It's okay. All right, man. Moving on.
The seventh case.
7.
In this incredible wave occurred at the end of the same day, December 7th, far south of Carole, but less than 40 miles west of Vakri in the city of Nelli, which just happens to be located in the Abruzzo region in the province adjacent to Chieta known as Aquila. You got it? Good. Don't worry. There's not going to be a test, and you can follow all the shit on your own if you want to.
I need Google Earther now so bad.
Yeah, don't even worry about it. I'm not going to try to get too heavy into geography from beyond here. It's all in Italy. Just know that. First reported by Italian ufologist and author Moreno Tambellini, this incident involved one Alfonso Marinelli, who was driving his brand new Mercedes in the area of Nelli when he had a run-in he would never forget. At exactly 11:45 p.m. on the night in question, Alfonso's brand new state-of-the-art vehicle inexplicably died on a lonely country road. Within minutes of his car stalling, the witness noticed two brilliant lights that seemed to be flying above the ground, steadily approaching his now dead vehicle from a distance of 30 to 40 feet. As the lights came closer, Alfonso realized that they were attached to the torsos of two humanoids who were no more than 2.5 feet tall, making them even smaller than the tiny trespassers seen on the Naples terrace on November 29th, but about the same size as the first one seen earlier. The observer watched in growing horror as the figures, both flying vertically, shot past his car. He noted that the humanoids were clad in identical silvery astronaut-like suits that had a phosphorus glow, sort of like the glowing suits in the valley of that I want to die in.
Whatever
that was.
Yeah, we are having some
consistency.
There's some similarities here with all these. Fashionable. I mean, and it's Italy. It makes sense. Very fashionable.
Oh yeah.
But I mean it's kind of. Versace
Absolutely.
aliens, perhaps.
I mean, maybe. I mean, it
Maybe.
is the key of fashion, cinema,
Yeah.
cuisine, art.
Yeah.
So
And
many
these
beautiful
and these
things.
are fun, cool aliens. They're not like doing anything too fucking nefarious besides acting like dolphins.
No, they're just kind of standing up. Oh, yeah, those assholes. But these two are just standing up, flying by, but only like little tiny wang wangs, just
yeah, they're just
shooting
showing
past
up,
in their
man.
like
That's cool.
phosphorus glowing suits.
And there's little folks hanging out, man, just fucking jamming, just exploring
buzzing
Earth.
ya.
Yeah. All right, cool. They're dolphin watching. There you go. It all comes full circle.
They both wore large oval helmets equipped with bulky black visors. Alfonso also saw that the round luminous beacons positioned in the center of their chests were interlocked with straps that wrapped around their shoulders. All of this seemingly beyond space age tech left the spectator reeling. And I want to add here, there's just a hint of the Potosi sheep slayer.
I was going to say
strap around
with the strap,
tiny humanoids flying with little straps.
Yep. Yeah. As long as they're not fucking, exsanguinating any sheep in Italy, then,
I mean, not that we know of.
Dude, maybe they're there to get the dolphins.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dude.
You're really on the dolphin tip.
You know what they say about dolphins, don't you?
I do not.
The fascists of the sea.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, of course, everyone hears that from, the cradle.
Look that shit up on Reddit.
Oh my God. Yeah. Go on 4chan. You'll find it.
No, Jesus Christ. Don't. Go to Reddit. Don't fucking go to 4chan. Just go to Reddit. It's fine.
Yes, I was being darkly ironic. I did not mean that.
Okay. Yeah. No, don't do that. Okay. Here we go.
No sooner than the petite people flew past, evidently doing reconnaissance on the downed Mercedes and its occupant, than the pair immediately turned around and soared back in the direction they had come from. Every bit as disturbing as the unexpected sight of these flying fiends was the fact that the eyewitness swore that neither of the beings, nor their self-illuminated, evidently anti-gravity technology that the duo were sporting, made so much as a sound. Alfonso might have been comforted by the noises associated with an engine or propellers, but there was nothing but silence. That was until, utterly unexpectedly, the engine of his Mercedes spontaneously roared back to life, startling the already perturbed witness to the point that he was barely able to resume driving. But after presumably driving at a breakneck pace the 42 miles to the east coast city of Silvi, Alfonso managed to corral a couple of police officers and report his bizarre experience. So at least he got to the cops, made the report. Right. They buzzed back, car dies. This is going to be a common theme.
I mean, they're just messing around with, their tech interferes with our tech, which I'm not sure why a combustible engine gives two shits about anything, but
well,
okay.
It's got to be electromagnetism, and I'm no expert in anything fucking that's earth science or physics, but I mean, if you can, if you can have it like what's an electromagnetic pulse can stop mechanics and electronics.
Well, maybe because the electronics in the car or whatever would cease, but okay.
But I wonder if it would like here would be an interesting test. If you're at like a car show and it has antique cars like Model Ts, I don't know what principles of electricity are working in there. Maybe spark plugs and shit are still electric. So I might be a complete moron, and I'll admit I'm a total non-gearhead moron when it comes to the wonderful world of automobiles. But I wonder if there's like a certain segment of old-timey vehicles that might escape the electromagnetic wrath of the UFO. Maybe. Or if it's some weird directed psychic foofy shit that's just like magic.
I mean, my truck is mostly computers. So
well, nowadays, yeah.
I mean, mine's just going to die. Like if there's an EMP anywhere, it's going to take my truck out.
Oh yeah. No, America's truck dies fast.
Yeah.
In the blast. Yeah.
Not nearly as fast as the Armada, but goddamn close.
Oh yeah. No, the Armada fucking is going to die long before the EMP. That son of a bitch with a starter. Come on, man. Well, just replace the battery.
Just bring it to a mechanic. I got a guy. Oh, yeah. I'll give you a guy's name.
I appreciate it.
All right. Mechanics aside, back to
Eighth encounter. You ready?
Eighth encounter.
I'm excited. The eighth encounter in this epic flap took place 4 days later in the same city. According to the website of NICAP, which is aforementioned as the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, which was founded in 1956 by such UFO luminaries as Major Donald Kehoe, United States Marine Corps, one of the very first and most pivotal ufologists ever. Author and ufologist Maurizio Verga's Itacat, or Italian UFO catalog, included a case involving a Nelli taxi driver who, at 10 p.m. on December 11th, claimed that he was forced to slam on his brakes in order to avoid colliding with what at first looked to be two luminous globes ahead on the road, but what quickly revealed themselves to be a pair of humanoid figures nearly identical to the ones described by Alfonso Marinelli. As in the aforementioned case, due to what may be an electromagnetic influence, as we were just talking, the taxi stalled moments after the driver hit the brakes, leaving the stranded witness to watch in shock as the twin beings slipped over the surface of the asphalt without touching it, eventually drifting out of sight.
Oh, we got more similarities here. Interesting.
And probably
Okay.
the same too.
Yeah, honestly, it
Same
very
city,
well could
4
be.
days later, very similar description.
Okay, weird.
The ninth occurrence is noted only for sake of completeness, as it is nearly incalculably brief and once again involves anonymous eyewitnesses. That being noted, authors Maria Antonietta Di Muro and Orazio Valenti claim that somewhere in the Aquila province, one that, as mentioned, buttresses up against the main focus of these sightings in where? Chieti province. Various motorists reported a pair of massive red lights flying in the sky. No other details were noted, but the time and place make it seem as if it ought to be connected and is at least worthy of consideration. Table that. The next two encounters would make a dramatic jump in distance, occurring on a roadside and a nearby United States Air Force facility located some 290 miles to the south of Nelli, between the port of Brindisi and the town of San Vito dei Normanni. The first encounter was reported by the great humanoid chronicler Albert Rosales, God bless him, who attributes the account to UFO historian Eduardo Russo. Russo reported that at about 6:30 p.m., a pair of motorists claimed to have seen what was described as a quote-unquote luminous mass that came almost to the ground before shooting off at extraordinary speed in a northwesterly direction towards the city of Puglia. So, weird that it's just described as a luminous mass. Usually, geometric forms are the rule in UFOs. When I read something, a phrase like luminous mass, I might be reading into it, but it seems like a lumpy blob ass funkall object that's just, having weird colors and landing and then taking off.
Yeah, like one of those weird like sky ray things or whatever.
Yeah, no, it could be. We're getting right into the like sky amoebas eating the homeless people. God, I always forget the guy's name, but the clamulons. But what was the name of the dude that like pioneered all of this?
His name is constantly on the tip of my tongue, and
always.
I can literally
sometimes it's right there, and sometimes it goes away. But
it's like Charleston or some shit like that.
Go back to like gargantuan gliders, and you can find it if you're interested.
He's the one with the Ashtar Command and the Jesus of the Christ.
Oh, it's so crazy! I found an old documentary with him in it on YouTube, on just like from probably 1978, probably from the same era, and just he goes into rabbit holes while sitting on a fucking weirdly upholstered couch in front of wood paneling, and I'm like, take me home, brother. Take me home. Okay, so while this couple is on the roadside, or these various motorists are watching this so-called luminous mass come down, simultaneously, something's going on at the nearby Air Force base that I think is the exact same event, but seen from different perspectives. So I'll continue. That sighting being the one we were just talking about, might have remained a solitary curiosity were it not for the intrepid reporting of the Corriere del Giorno newspaper. And that, by the way, might be the newspaper that reported on the elves, but again, put a pin in that. The next day, on December 14th, 1978, the newspaper reported on a strange sighting made the night before at 6:30 p.m., very likely of the same object by two ostensibly American soldiers. It wasn't stated, but I mean, American soldiers are the only ones that serve on American bases, I'm assuming. So we'll leave it at that.
I'm sure they could have some sort of like Italian, military assistance or whatever, but yeah.
I'm sure there's like cooperative efforts.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't know if they would be posted as sentries.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's why I say ostensibly, because I just don't know for sure.
Yeah. No, we're not sure. It's okay.
But they were stationed at the San Vito dei Normanni air station. According to the account, the two airmen were on guard duty, stationed about 330 feet away from one another, when they both saw an anomalous flying object that seemed to be maneuvering not far away in a series of erratic jumps while oscillating between a pulsating array of green and orange lights. But strange as this sight was, it would pale before what happened next. When questioned, both airmen claimed that just before the oddly illuminated mass soared off, they watched as a small, humanoid being who seemed to be wrapped in a multicolored coat levitated off the ground before vanishing, perhaps to rendezvous with the unknown green and orange luminous mass.
Dude, is this like Rick Wakeman from Yes with his cool wizard robe?
This is definitely prog rock. It's
Dude,
fuck.
this is fucking this is Tarkus level shit, dude. This is Emerson, Lake and Palmer, man.
Some Technicolor Dreamcoat. It's got all the goods.
Just a roundabout. I know it's not a huge. I'm not a huge Yes fan. I'm not even sure if that's like the Yes jam, but it's the one that I fucking know. So, all right, man. Rick Wakeman Aliens. That's fucking
no. I
dope.
mean, I see this thing as like wearing like a big puffy, like almost 90s style rapper parka that like goes down like a trench coat, but then it spins out so it looks like this umbrella like canopy or like, with colors.
Kind of like Orko, maybe like some cool like.
Definitely.
Orko didn't really have any. Dude, if Orko was like multicolored, like okay, take Rick Wakeman and Orko, combine them and put them on tour with the original 3-piece Genesis, and you have a fucking banger, dude.
I'm in there like swimwear.
Fucking banger.
Love it.
That's right.
He's my favorite little guy so far.
He is. I love him.
Our 12th reported run-in with the unknown took place on the same day that the Corriere del Giorno newspaper article was published. But this incident did not involve an individual who claimed to have seen a bizarre being, but one who claimed to have come across a piece of high technology that seemed to hail from out of this world. This account was first reported in the mid-'80s by the legendary French UFO journal LDLN, or, and watch me kill this one, Lumiere's Dans la Nuit.
That was good. No, that was good.
I mean, we don't know if it was good. Our French listeners will tell me exactly how bad it was.
Oh, for sure.
Specifically numbers 214 and 240. So those are the two editions it's in if you're looking to research this.
Nice.
According to this account, another unidentified eyewitness from the province of Chieti, a man from the town of Torrebruna, was driving on a desolate road at about 12:20 a.m. when he saw a strangely illuminated craft hovering just above the roadway. The unnamed man turned on his high beams and came to a halt just as the classically discoidal flying saucer landed before him on the pavement. No sooner than the saucer hit the ground than the driver found that his radio stopped working, but unlike the previous cases involving the Mercedes and the taxi, his car apparently remained running. Showing more courage than common sense, the observer then climbed out of his car and cautiously approached the now immobile object. As soon as he neared the saucer, a hatch opened along the side, and the man, clearly the bearer of balls forged in steel and dipped in titanium, climbed aboard. I don't know what the fuck this dude was thinking.
What are you doing, dude?
Jesus Christ.
We're all excited, but like fucking do it again. Pump your fucking brakes, man.
Yeah, I mean, just wait a second. Like peek in maybe. Wait to see if someone's going to give you a flapjack.
Yeah, you're just climbing on this fucking thing. Like,
you don't just walk on. You could get stolen.
No.
Have you never seen the Gamera film Attack of the Monsters?
Dude,
those
honestly,
two boys absconded to Cannibal Planet with Guiron, the knife-headed monster.
Oh, I love that guy.
I love that guy. It's like a shark banged a steak knife and just fucking went on a rampage.
I want to get that toy so bad, but he's goddamn so expensive.
I know they're all so expensive.
The vintage ones are really cool.
You know, we don't talk Gamera enough. As much as we love the Big G, the side game with Gamera is fucking fabulous.
I fucking love it.
But this dude just walked on the fucking ship, gave zero fucks.
Just fucking swinging it, dude. Just swinging it on the ship. It's so bizarre.
The curious explorer reported that he found himself inside of a circular room that appeared to be filled with what looked to him to be electronic equipment. He saw no evidence of any occupants. After about 3 minutes and displaying what one must assume was a flash of better judgment, the man decided to exit the craft. The hatch had barely closed behind him when the saucer shot skyward at an incalculable, second time I've used that word, rate of speed, forcing the UFO DNA website to conclude that it's, quote, appearance and performance was beyond the capability of known earthly aircraft. End quote.
Fair. I mean, fair assessment. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a machine. That's something like I've never read before. It just lands, opens up, dude gets on, checks it out. Like, is it like AI? Was it like just looking to be, admired?
Yeah. I'm thinking
is
like
remote controlled?
I'm thinking like Flight of the Navigator or something where he kind of like gets on it. But I mean, what's even more, I don't know. It's, I guess, lucky for him though. Like he walks off it and then it's like, see ya. And it closes up and just fucking takes off.
Which makes me wonder, was it being controlled either remotely or, intuitively or by an occupant that he just didn't happen to see?
Yeah.
And
dude.
it left as soon as he left, or like it was a time thing. And if he hadn't gotten out in time, he'd be fucking floating around somewhere in the cosmos, maybe having the time of his life. Who the fuck knows? But not home. And unfound, missing 411 car at the side of the road. Who the fuck knows what happened to dude?
Yeah. Be careful. But I mean, I guess he has the moxie. The moxie,
fortitude. No, you're using the right word, moxie.
Okay, yeah, and he gets in the ship. He's like, "I'm checking this out."
Yeah, the brass fucking nuts.
There's nothing here. Yeah, and that's why men die earlier.
We're dumb. We're dumb.
We do dumb shit like that. I'll walk in here. No shit. There you go. All right.
Well, that didn't work, and I don't have an extra life.
Son of a bitch, decapitated. Son of a bitch.
Quarter? I need a new guy.
These tiny aliens just ripped my eyeballs out. God damn it. I have no sight.
God damn it.
God damn,
I knew this one wasn't going in my favor.
Sons of bitch. There it is. All right, man. Fucking wrapping it up here, buddy.
We're going to wrap it up. That narrow escape would be far from the last reported run-in with an anomalous aircraft. And as our next brush with weirdness indicates, the island of Sicily would not be immune to this apparently alien onslaught, which would, for the first time since the initial 2 episodes, feature not the tiny techno-fae that seem to be running rampant on the mainland, but an entirely different caliber of, in this case, colossal conundrum. But that, my friends, is a story we're going to pick up next week in Alien Invasion Italian style, Part 2.
Oh, man, there it is. Aliens in Italy doing wild shit. So the similarities that we discussed in this episode with these encounters are interesting because it makes me think, and I know we mentioned Zanfretta kind of like saying that quite possibly it's something like akin to like the Mothman flapper. You have one major thing happening in the Zanfretta, actually, the Zanfretta incident, it ended up like it was some world-ending shit, right? There was like some weird device.
Oh, yeah.
In a
like
mountain.
People were trying to buy it and it was hidden in a cave. That's where like the treasure hunt came in. It was super sus, but it seemed like, I mean, it seemed like a lot of people think Zanfretta was maybe trying to pull one over on people, or like maybe he had an actual alien encounter, but then was starting, to confabulate it with either his fantasies or a way to make himself more famous. But I don't necessarily think so. I think he might have been being deceived. By alien intelligences wherever they're from and whatever their fucking agendas are. So and I think they were just maybe playing him for a fool. But this device, like if 3 of them came together, it would like change the nature of reality or something. Yeah,
like shit blew up or something, like super mega nuke or something like that. Like, yeah, it was. I mean,
speaking of what you said, like your analogy earlier, which was really spot on, the Point Pleasant and Mothman analogy. If an Italian version of John Keel had been there and just loosely traced the events and made a mythology out of it, because let's be honest, the only reason Mothman is a mythology is because Keel and Gray Barker and a few others, but obviously primarily Keel, strung it together in a way that made it make narrative sense, though not necessarily in a way that it really was. And by that, I don't mean he lied or made shit up, but that, anytime an author imposes their will and structure on something, you're giving it, a life and agenda that may not be manifest in reality, but certainly becomes evident when you're reading the book. And that's part of the thrill and the joy of Mothman. That's why it's legendary. And there's also the chance that they really are related, all these different elements, even from the Grafton Monster and other, maybe even back to Flatwoods, which would be batshit. But could you imagine if somebody had taken the time to string 78 together?
Yeah.
This should be, honestly, at least in European circles, the Mothman equivalent, because, with the Zanfretta incident, taking precedence and center stage with the most unique looking aliens and their war with the little frog people and the way they're in cahoots with the fucking grinning men and all the other crazy shit that they did. Like, that's the main core of the mythology. And then you wrap the other tales, just report them and let people make connect the threads in any way they want.
Right. There's like a couple of them there with like striking similarities, which makes me think like it's the same entities or it's the same type of species or they're there for the same reason. And the other thing that's kind of, pretty sweet about this too is that you're getting the aliens that have the super cool outfits. They're super glowy. They're not your typical grays, which
not a single fucking gray.
And
God
much
bless them.
Like Zanfretta, clearly those things were like these enormous like reptilians. So this kind of goes back. I know, man, the umbrella, the Fae, it's sort of got like Magonia, Goblin World, stuff like that. Like sort of kind of has me going there. And I wish I could think more, especially recently. I mean, I've always kind of done this, but because it's out there in the zeitgeist, as Robert likes to say, the whole like Fae, Magonia aspect of everything. Not so much being in interstellar, but being like, native to the earth, but just like a dimension adjacent or whatever. Where it's not following standard gray protocols whatsoever. These are just completely unique, weird, alien to us, at least, species popping up. In this case, I mean, okay, we had a couple of dolphins that were, questionable or whatever, but here it's just, they're being observed, I mean, they're not really interacting with too much.
They could be tourists, literally.
Yeah,
like
or you're just
traveling.
catching a glimpse of them coming through or something,
Right.
I mean, whereas Zanfretta was a direct, like those things like were on top of that fucking dude constantly.
And, they seem to have an agenda, and they were definitely, like you say, they were on top of him. But these things seem to be dealing with the diminutives, which are the
small, the tinies. I love the tinies.
I do too. I always have. Some of them have glowing helmets.
Yep.
Others are just like astronauts with glowing bodies.
Mm-hmm.
They float above fields. They're between 2.5 and 3 feet. Sometimes they move gracefully on ladies' terraces in Naples. So you've got the diminutive, the one side that I referred to as the mini techno fae.
Right.
But then you've got the tall, skinny ones that were in the very first encounter that we dealt with, where the guy was just wanting to watch a boxing match and not get killed for his radical fucking right views. And it ends up running into these like super skinny things. And check out that painter whose name I'm sure I mispronounced, because when I Googled that, it's like when you see those paintings of these really live, distended, surreal looking women, they're beautiful paintings, but they are definitely alien-esque. And you can see where some, almost like the tall whites,
right?
Where they have a little bit of hair and just these really very, soft and fragile looking features. But so you've got those kinds too. We've got other big ones coming. Obviously, the super reptilians, the 9-foot tall monsters from Zanfretta, as you talked about, and the other assorted adjacent things. And I'm trying to think like an empty UFO.
Yeah, the empty UFO. Yeah, that one is odd because it just kind of. I mean, I'm trying to think like, okay, not pop culture, but I guess like media wise, like if this was ever reported like on the TV or like the radio
in
where
Italy,
we're experiencing this, so that kind of got me thinking too skeptically, because obviously we do have to take a skeptical approach to this. So if these stories are out there in the media, are you dealing with people that are getting hyped up and seeing something and misconstruing it for something else? Which I know, obviously, the dolphins could have clearly been misconstrued, apparently, for
as
an
a
alien
UFO
or
and two aliens,
UFO,
right?
Yeah. But I think keeping that on the table, though, that there is a possibility here that these people could be kind of getting caught up in the hype and shit's getting crazy. And actually, wasn't like Zanfretta at one point like on TV, like in Italy, talking about all this stuff?
100%. Like his hypnosis sessions ended up on television at some point.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that actually occurred in 78, but it might have. But it was definitely in newspapers.
Yeah, no, for sure. So keeping that thought there that just, this could be people kind of, jumping on it. Again, because of the time, maybe it's one of those things like, turn yourself into your own, Zanfretta or whatever by seeing something. Obviously, not a lot of money's being had with these types of encounters.
So we have to acknowledge that. We always do. It's on the table next to the devil and diabetes that,
totally.
that there's liars, there's hoaxers, there's people that misinterpret things, genuinely and not, with any nefarious intent. But That having been said, for the most part, these sightings are not the kind that I think you would fabricate in order to get fame. Like going to America, like say the Pascagoula abduction. Now, I think that
Right.
actually happened, and these guys didn't really exploit it themselves. I mean, one of them ended up on the Tonight Show, and they wrote books about them, but I don't know until later in life if any of them wrote anything. So, but that is just crazy. Like you're kidnapped and you have all these things happen on the ship and you're brought back. And then there's the media thing after it. That's something where you have to like kind of weigh it out. Like, is this something that happened? But my car died and two things flew by and then flew by really quick. And I almost shit my pants and I drove to a nearby city and reported it to the cops.
Right.
That is not something you base a book on, a TV
No.
career, fame, interviews.
No,
you know what you are? You're a footnote in somebody's goddamn book, which is exactly what these people are.
Yeah, and then you're
money.
mentioned on our podcast. So,
yeah, decades later.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe just because the time happening in Italy. I'm not going to use the word zeitgeist again.
The Gestalt.
The Gestalt. Yeah, maybe the Gestalt of Italy. The ouvroir, the vibe. Dude, Italy was fucking vibing with aliens, dude, and everyone's fucking feeling real cool. And they're like, yeah, man, there's a bunch of cool music, a bunch of good fucking food. Everyone's just kind of fucking chilling, drinking all kinds of fucking sweet wine. And
everyone wants to go to Italy.
Chicken parms and shit. And then all of a sudden
you're
just like, man, shit's getting fucking nuts here with aliens. I do really think it's interesting, though, that everyone's reporting very, very similar encounters with these creatures as far as like how they look, what they're doing, not really interacting with the human, just kind of zipping in, zipping out, doing their things. So,
not liking loud noises. So
clearly not disappearing
with being shouted
clearly disappearing. So, all right, man.
I'm fascinated. I know we got to wrap this up, and I know we're going to talk more in depth at the end of the next episode when we really, try to tie it all together. But I will say I've always been fascinated by the idea of these window areas, these places where the veil thins or whatever you want to, whatever analogy you want to use, where maybe it's a jurisdictional thing. Like it really seems like in terms of alien interactions now, the Greys, sign the contract and they have dominion over Earth and they can do what they want. But it seems like there's these little brief moments, like sometimes like in Point Pleasant in the 60s and in Italy in a decade later, that all these disparate species with probably vastly different agendas and methods of working and certainly appearances all show up at the same time. It's almost as if like they're trying to be the next one to claim the zone or whatever, or maybe they just all these scientists get to interact, or maybe if it is interdimensional, the veil genuinely thins to the point where it's like their scientists can finally break through en masse and do a lot of study and work in this, brief window of a few months. And then they have to go back when, whatever the physics of interdimensional travel, demands that it's going to be a pain in the dick to get home if you don't leave now. I mean, who knows? But I love it when it's this cosmic convention, as I wrote, of all these disparate entities and beings that don't seem to look alike or be from the same place, and they're just doing their own fucking thing, and I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It also gives me definitely some some vibes of like Grush talking about like holographic projections from other dimensions.
That one story, the doll people. And then the holographic projection that looks at you and smiles and that makes you shit your pants, even though it seems like it would be an adorable thing.
Right. So it's almost like that's how they interact with our plane of existence is basically like the same idea as casting a shadow through a dimension, which is far beyond me. I have no idea what that's even about. But
yeah, once you get into like the TARDIS, I don't know, dimensional space shit.
Yeah, it's you're going so far ahead. But regardless, these aliens are awesome. Super stoked for part 2. Come back next week. Check that out. Robert, Patreon shout outs for the good folks that support us over there at patreon.com.
God bless them. Everyone.
Podcast. And yeah, buddy, let's do it.
Green tea.
Thank you, green tea. Appreciate
it. A lot of A's, so I try to emphasize.
I like it.
P.I. Staker.
Hell yeah, P.I. Staker. Thank you so much.
Hunter Mills.
What up, Hunter?
Vincent Rivera.
Thank you, Vincent.
Anthony Garcia.
What up, Anthony? Thank you so much.
Jonathan Geider.
Hell yeah, Jonathan.
Never.
Yeah, with 2 V's. I love it.
Coda Blackwolf.
Hell yeah, like Coda. That. Thank you.
A haunted Arby's in Florida. Fucking phenomenal.
Man. I saw that when it came through. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Oh, I love that. God bless.
Love it.
Brandon DeHaven.
Thank you, Brandon.
Ty Ormond.
Ty, what up?
Dave Baxter.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Seth Havey.
Thank you so much, Seth.
Triangulum PUBG.
Oh, I'm not sure if that's in reference to the game PUBG, but hey, thank you so very much for your support on Patreon.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Ruby Slider.
Hell yeah, Ruby. Thank you so much.
Bless you. Your Stone Angel.
Oh, nice. I like it. Cool. Thank you.
Timothy Hoover.
Hell yeah, Tim. Thank you so much.
Emily Greenlaw.
Emily, what up?
Oh my God, sounds like a TNT like fucking law show.
Greenlaw.
Greenlaw. It's my name. It's what I do. I protect the environment with
Nice.
law. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Sorry about giving you that career.
It's cool.
Aaron Jansen.
Thank you, Aaron.
Rounding it out this week with the essential Trigun 77.
Yes. Thank you so much, Trigun.
Thank you all. Oh my God, we can't do this without you.
No, we can't.
You're fucking saints. Honestly, thank you.
Patreon.com/Cryptonaut podcast. Check it out there. Be sure to connect up to the Discord. There was a trivia night this last weekend here. It was super cool. It was super fun. And I ended up banging them there a little bit late, but yeah, I did not get all of the questions that I did have. It's kind of funny.
I missed it. I could kick myself, but I had some family shit. But
the amount of things that we don't know about our own show is goddamn hilarious.
It's staggering. It's staggering.
Awesome. As always, the social media is boom, boom, boom. The Instas and the Twitters and the Facebooks and all kinds of the shit that's destroying society. Check us out there. Like, comment, and share. I don't know. I'll get back to you on the DMs and Instagram. I always go through there and I talk to people on there. So check that out.
Yeah, I get on my Instas at least weekly. I always try to respond. If you don't hear from me, don't think I'm being a dick. I'm just really delayed with checking my shit.
Yeah, no, I see you on there though. You're doing it at odd hours of the night when you should be sleeping, but that's a conversation we're going to have off mic, Mr. Morphy.
I'm doing my best, bro.
The merch, hellerspace.com, Cryptonaut merch, check them out there. I don't know. We're in the weird fake summer here in New York where it's like, oh, hey, it's fucking 45 degrees. It's summer.
Yeah,
and
always like for weeks of no snow. And I'm not complaining, though I technically understand that's a problem.
It's going to end up like dumping snow on us.
Oh, it's going to be a shit February.
So, the summers are on the corner. Check it out. Get your tank tops and all kinds of fun shit there. Do that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all so very much. We will be returning. I can't talk. We will be returning next week with part 2. And we might be in person. I don't know. We're going to see how this weird edge of a cold that I have that is just crushing me if I'm going to be there in the studio or if I'm going to be
trooper,
remote.
Bro.
So we'll check it out. And I've been up since 4:30 and I have to go to the bathroom really bad and we got to record a Patreon. So we'll be talking to you soon.
Nice and short. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.